The pit lane opens, and for the first time this weekend, we are in the sunshine here at Suzuka. Welcome everybody to race 2 of the weekend, to round 4 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. And after a really interesting, fascinating, lively, call it what you will, race yesterday that was all down to tyre choice in the end, today it is a completely different kettle of fish because the sun is shining. It's very, very hot. It's been warm all weekend, but really humid and very, very wet. What we now have is a circuit that is bone dry, and the teams facing higher track temperatures than they have done over the course of the weekend. David Addison trackside, looking forward to what promises to be a very good race indeed, with a grid, of course, based on a separate qualifying session, not a race result from yesterday. Yesterday's race won impressively by Takeshi Kimura and Keiko Zolino. We'll come to that drive by Keiko Zolino in due course because it was quite something. Coincidentally, his is the car on pole position. But yesterday's race was really all about the fact that we had 2 safety car periods. It was a wet track to begin with. It did dry, but very, very few people wanted to take the gamble on tyres, except Takeshi Kimura, who'd been tagged into a spin early on by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. And with the car way, way down the order, he decided that it was worth a punt. They would roll the dice, and they went on to slicks. The road still looked too wet. Even the wet shod cars were squirming around and kicking up spray. But it turned out that we had the slick tyre option, and that was the way to go. So it was a win yesterday for Takeshi Kimura and Keiko Zolino, thanks to inspired tyre choice. Let's look back at the first race of the weekend here at Suzuka. It was a demon getaway by the Ferrari on the inside of the grid from pole position. Naoki Yokomitsu, and going toe-to-toe with him all the way around turn 1 in the Porsche was Kantati Kurisi. But then, as they accelerated out of turn 1, just a little bit too much power too soon caused the Ferrari to spin off backwards. Into the barriers went Yokomitsu, and that was that car out of the race and out for the weekend. That's another story to explain in a moment. Safety car was deployed, the race got back underway. It wasn't long before we had a second safety car period, as off the road had spun the Porsche of Satawan Santoso. But when we got going for the third time, it was action all the way. Kantati Kurisi in the lead, and Kusiri being chased hard by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. It was Porsche versus Lamborghini up front. Kusiri hanging onto the advantage as they turn nose to tail through the hairpin. But working into contention also was the bright orange Porsche further back with Hiroaki Nagai. And on the pit stop window, as people came in to serve the mandatory stop, so the order was shuffled. And it was at this point that the delayed car guide Ferrari and Takeshi Kimura decided that slicked might be worth a punt. And Keiko Zolino had to battle on a greasy track as they came up to temperature, but it was worth doing. Others were really having to push hard as well, and so amongst them the number 30 Porsche. Yuta Kamimura getting himself right onto the tail then of Tanat Sataran for the race lead, and he made his move, surprisingly, heading into the second part of the Degner curve. Not always an overtaking place, but behind them, catching up inexorably, was Keiko Zolino. He made very short work of Nick Foster's Mercedes, the Mercedes on wets, the Ferrari on slicks, and Keiko Zolino put himself up then into third place. The way that he'd been going early in his stint suggested a podium might be on. With a lap to go, he was on for the win, because up to the outside line, coming into the triangle, he went, and Keiko Zolino moved himself up past Tanat Sataran and into the lead with a lap and a bit to go. It was an absolutely amazing drive as the car guy racing Ferrari came through for Keiko Zolino and Takeshi Kimura to win round 3 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. And it was a winning margin of 8 seconds. He pulled that out in a lap alone. It was quite some drive. Keiko Zolino saying it was all down to you, Takeshi, for choosing the tyres. Takeshi Kimura saying it was all down to you for bringing the car home. It was a great race yesterday. We're looking forward to more of the same coming up right now. So after yesterday, it means that we now have the Mercedes of Nick Foster and Jeffrey Ibrahim as the championship leaders. The absent Adrian De Silva and Earl Bamber still second. Reed Harker and Satawan Santoso, despite the spin yesterday, recovered remarkably well actually in the delayed Porsche. And they are third in the championship. They managed to get 15th place out of yesterday's race, ahead of Abu Ibrahim and Jasmine Jafar. But then 5th after yesterday's victory. The combination of Kei Kozadino and Takeshi Kimura from Naoki Yukamitsu and Shogo Mitsuyama relying on their Sepang results. Sandy Stuvik next in the Audi run by the X-Works team. In GT4, which we didn't have at Sepang, but we do have here at Suzuka, it is Jun Toshiro and Tatsuya Tanegawa ahead of Brian Lee and Hideto Yasuoka, and then third, Katsuyuki Hironaka and Motoharu Sato. Bearing in mind that the top three in yesterday's race in each class will carry now the success pit stops, an extra 15, 10 and 5 seconds in the pits depending on whether you are 1, 2 and 3. And the race result of yesterday, that championship situation of course now in GT4. So we have the drivers on the grid in the sunshine having to cope with much warmer temperatures than ever before, and the Yogibo Racing Ferrari is another story which I'll explain in a moment, because after yesterday's accident it's virtually had to be a replacement car for that. But Yogibo, a big championship supporter of the championship now. Good to have them involved. For the first time yesterday we had our race winners on beanbags on the podium, and you can expect that again at the end of today's race. To find out more about Yogibo, let's join Dave Roberts down on the grid.
Conditions hugely different here down on the grid today as of yesterday. Very wet yesterday, very hot, sunshine, it's dry conditions, and I'm pleased to say we're joined on the grid by the chief executive of Yogibo. It is Seiji Kimura. Mr. Kimura, how much are you enjoying the atmosphere around what you're seeing here today?
今日の環境はどうですかっていう、この SRO の環境はもうすごいいい天気で。
もう昨日大雨やったんですけど、でも今回もこれだけ晴れて最高やし。
We were worried about the weather yesterday, but it's saying it's a beautiful weather today. We're really happy about it.
ほんでやっぱりこのね、日本のレースと違ってこの海外のこの感じがすごくめちゃくちゃ気に入ってます。
We really like the international feeling. So, you know, although it's in Japan, we still have that atmosphere, so we're really happy about it.
And you are a big partner of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. How important is it for you to be involved in these types of organizations?
今回のファナテックの中でもヨギボーの社長はすごい大きなインパクトを与えている。それに関してはどう思いますか？
いやもうすごい世界的な企業の皆さんと我々がこう肩を並べてロゴを掲載しているというのはまあすごい光栄に思ってます。
So in a global brand, we're really honored to be a part of this event.
And for the car itself, what are you hoping performance-wise from the number 27?
この車の意気込みに対してどういう期待がありますか？
もう多分この GT3 マシンの中でもうこのフェラーリ 488GT3 は一番速いと思ってるんで、もうだから我々ファナテックねワールドチャレンジも協賛してますけど、うちのチームを買ってもらうためにぜひ応援してます。フェラーリはめっちゃ速い。
We really want our team to win. We think our car is the fastest in all the cars racing today, so we really hope for number one spot.
Okay, we wish you well. Thank you for your time. Conditions very hot. It's an international field. Back to you, David.
Dave, thanks very much then. So great to hear from Yogibo down on the grid, and the Yogibo brand beanbag makers amongst other types of furniture. But yesterday, as I say, they were presented the winning drivers with these beanbags and collapsed into them on the podium. It was quite something to see. Now, the other story about the Yogibo Ferrari, you saw in the highlights, the car crashed on lap 1 yesterday. Naoki Yokimitsu put it off the road, denying Kyoto Fujinama a drive. It is Kyoto Fujinama who will start today, the Super GT champion. Well, that car is effectively a new car now. They did have a spare chassis. The steward said, yeah, you can run that, but you need to put the old engine in. The team said, well, we don't want to put the old engine in because it's been in a crash, so thanks but no thanks. So it was then agreed that they could run a new engine as well, but with a 3-minute penalty. So they don't really have a chance of winning the race, but what they do have is a chance of being on the grid and therefore representing the sponsor, and perhaps, you never know, with a couple of safety car periods, things might luck out for them. But the car will start at the back of the GT3 part of the grid. All the GT3 cars go ahead of GT4. They'll be at the back of that element of the grid, and then they have this extra 3 minutes penalty in the pits, on top of the mandatory pit stop of the GT3 cars, 90 seconds. It's 125 for GT4. So let's go back down to the grid. Dave Roberts is out and about finding drivers from GT3 and GT4 as we get set for race 2 of the weekend. Dave.
We're down at GT4 side of the grid at the moment. Hiddy's with me in car 14. Hiddy, it's a 10-second success penalty you're facing. How confident are you can overcome that today?
Actually, I'm very confident because we found an issue with the suspension yesterday after the race, and the car's feeling is amazing today, so I think we can overcome that.
And dry, hot, sunny conditions, do you prefer that to the wet of yesterday?
I always like wet, but Suzuka, it's such a nice track, so I'm looking forward for the dry and hot.
Good luck, thank you.
So that is Hideto Yasuoka, who, as you may have gathered from his excellent English, is a graduate of the BRDC Single-Seater Championship based at Silverstone, in which he raced a long, long time ago. But if that car has got around its suspension problem of yesterday, then that's going to be another one to watch. Now, Kate Cozzolino is another man we ought to try and catch up from, because he is on pole position, and Kate Cozzolino yesterday took us for a lap of the circuit. We'll try and get to him on the grid, but while Dave's making his way from back to front, let's have a lap of the circuit with Kei Cozzolino from qualifying yesterday.
Hi everyone, I'm Kei Cozzolino, car guy racing car 777, driving the Ferrari 488 GT3. Going down the straight Suzuka Circuit, wet conditions, just shifting on the right to just cool the tires at 250 kilometers an hour, arriving first corner around 100-meter break, down to second gear. You really want to get a good line out of this corner so you can get a good amount of speed going into the S's. Keeping third gear. Usually with the dry conditions you would use the curbs, but with the wets you just want to stay a little bit away from them. But the concept is always use the inside as much as possible. Here again, this is one of the famous corners, anti-bank corner, down to second gear. Get a good exit going into Dunlop, up to third gear. Here you really want to use all the track, but don't go too wide or else you'll go end up in the gravel. Going into Degner 1, braking around 60 meters, down to second gear. Here you want to stay away from the curbs, especially when it's wet. Degner 2, get a good exit. And as you can see, you have some GT4 car in front of you, a water splash, giving it difficult to see. I get a little traffic here, down to first gear for hairpin. And then all the way flat going into spoon after this. Even if it's in the rain, it's amazing how much grip and downforce the 488 GT3 has. So easy, flat out through these bends. And here it is, one of the most famous corners, spoon 1, down to second gear. Try to stay a little bit outside for the second one, get a good exit for going into the back straight. Avoid the curb on the outside as it is slippery, and you go all the way up into fifth gear. One of the fastest corners coming up, 130R. We are reaching around 250 kilometers per hour, down to fourth gear for the rain, keeping it fifth for the dry. And this is the most important, to close the lap, the chicane, braking at 100 meters, down at first gear. Try to use a lot of curb on the inside and try to get a good exit. It's going downhill, you'll get a little bit of wheel spin, just use the traction control, and there it is, a lap of Suzuka Circuit.
So the grid is just about cleared, so that means that the cars are about to leave the line behind the Toyota GL Supra safety car. The Suzuka Circuit, a fabulous lap. It's one of those old school circuits, but of course arguably a modern classic, still hosts the Japanese Grand Prix here in October. It's just under 6 kilometers in length, 18 corners. It has got that crossover section, the flyover. You go underneath it in one direction and then at the end of the lap back over the top before you arrive at the 130R, and then the triangle, the chicane at the end of the lap. The first double apex right takes you into the Snake, then you loop your way round to the double apex Degner towards the slow hairpin, the 200R spoon curve, speed building all the while, a bit like Blanchimont into the bus stop at Spa, through 130R to the triangle at the end of the lap. Great circuit, bone dry, much warmer as we've been saying than previously, so now the drivers and the teams with so little proper dry running this weekend are about to set off for the formation lap. Kei Cozzolino then in the yellow Ferrari, starting on pole position. He has won in this championship before. He was a winner at Fuji back in 2017, the first year of the series, when his co-driver was Naoki Yokomitsu, the man that crashed the Ferrari on that one yesterday. So Kei Cozzolino is on pole position with Le Mans winner Saiji Ara for company. Nick Foster shares row 2 with Reid Harker. The third row is Jasmine Jafar, and alongside him is the Audi of Sandy Stuvik. The fourth row is where you find Tomonobu Fuji and Yuta Kamimura, Aston Martin and Porsche respectively, ahead of Kaita Sawa and the AAS Motorsport Porsche in the hands of Tennant, Saturn Tirancool. Next comes Yudai Uchida, who's been winning in the Ferrari Challenge here this weekend, and lining up alongside him is Shigekatsu Wakisaka in the Ferrari, ahead of Mineki Okura, the Lamborghini, alongside Ben Porter's AMAC Porsche, which won the AM class yesterday. Yorikatsu Tsujiko is next in the Honda, and then completing the GT3 part of the grid is going to be Kyoto Fujinama. Then you get to GT4, Shinya Hosokawa and Katsuyuki Hironaka on the front row, ahead of Hideto Yasuoka and Masataka Inoue, the nephew of ex-Grand Prix driver Taki Inoue. Next on the grid comes Tatsuya Tanegawa with Masayuki Ueda alongside. And then the back row is the invitation class BMW from BMW Team Studi, the M2 of Sunako Jukichu, and it is Masaki Fuji who rounds out the grid in the Comet Racing Run Mercedes. That then is the grid. The car on pole position then of Kei Cozzolino, carrying the 15-second pit stop penalty based on yesterday. In 10th on the grid, the 10 seconds will be applied to, sorry, 8th on the grid, the 10 seconds will be applied to Yuta Kamimura's Porsche, and the 5 seconds go to the Nick Foster and Jeffrey Ibrahim Mercedes that was third in yesterday's race. So the cars then make their way up towards the triangle. With those penalties being factored in, it might well be that the number 5 BMW, started by Saiji Ara, becomes a real factor in this race. It might also be that the safety car becomes no problem for them if that's a situation. Certainly we had 2 interruptions of safety car yesterday. Now I'm just hearing that the Kei Cozzolino Ferrari was laid down off its jacks. Now that might incur a penalty depending on when it dropped down, because the cars should be on the ground at the 3-minute board and the grid must be cleared at 1 minute. So if that car was still being worked on after the 3-minute mark, then expect that to be investigated. So there might be a little subplot to all of this. Yes, I was trying to say that if we do get safety car periods, then those pit stop penalties pretty much end up being negated. There you've got the GT4 cars coming down towards the triangle, but the GT3 element of the grid is about to get round 4 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, underway. Kei Cozzolino on the inside, Saiji Ara in the big BMW alongside him. Then they make their way up towards the start line. Suzuka, like many circuits, has the start and finish lines in different places. Up towards the lights they come, the lights change now, we get underway, and the cars accelerate off down towards turn 1 with actually a pretty slow start by Saiji Ara. That enables Nick Foster to get up and past him as well, but Kei Cozzolino leads in the Ferrari. Foster goes second, Ara is third, and then in 4th place, Jasmine Jafar as they turn through the first corner. Now they head up towards the snake for the first time, and Kei Cozzolino then, the Italian-Japanese driver, using all of his Suzuka experience to very good effect. His great stream of GT3 cars pours through, including, of course, at the back of it, Kyoto Fujinama in number 27. Yesterday it was bright blue, today it's sort of carbon fibre coloured, and we'll see what progress that can make, bearing in mind it has a 3-minute and therefore a lap and a bit penalty to serve anyway. So there you've got the race leader, Kei Cozzolino, getting away as he comes up towards the first part of the Degner curve into the first element, now turns sharp right, slightly banked corner, that takes you underneath that flyover, and then down towards the hairpin, so the road drops away slightly, then there's a climb, it's a sharp left uphill hairpin. There is Nick Foster in the 888 JMR Mercedes, the same 888 of course with such a stellar CV in supercar racing in Australia, and a little bit further back than you might have anticipated right now, the Dayglow Porsche, which has lost out at the start. Yuta Kamimura has fallen back in the pack by the look of it. Kamimura should have been 8th on the grid. He was running 10th at the first timing point, but it's Cozzolino up front then. Foster second, Saiji Ara third, and Kei Cozzolino well, he was on slicks yesterday, but he's carrying on in the sense where he left off in glorious weather conditions today by steaming clear of Nick Foster. Saiji Ara still there in that third spot. Another car that's dropped back a little bit by the look of it, having been 10th on the grid, is the AWS Motorsport Porsche of Taner Satarin-Tirankul, down to 13th, but the order will be confirmed at the end of the opening lap. And you can see the way that Cozzolino is trying to get away from Foster. Nick brakes late then. The Australian former single-seater driver took pole position here for the Suzuka 10 Hours a few seasons back when he was a Hub Auto Ferrari driver. He's also, of course, been a winner in this championship as well. Back in 2018, Nick Foster took a couple of wins, and as he comes over the timing line now, the margin between the top two, 1.4 seconds at the end of that opening lap. So going very strongly indeed is Kei Cozzolino, as he needs to in a sense. What he wants to do is try and make sure the gap is as big as possible for his co-driver Takeshi Kimura to try and hang on to in that second stint. So right now, Cozzolino it is that's getting away from Foster in second place. They're third after a not-so-great getaway. Saiji Ara in the BMW. This car, another from the BMW Team Studi stable, the Plus with BMW Team Studi entered car that he shares with Tomohide Yamaguchi, and the BMW M4 GT3, new car for this year, which is showing good pace around the world, whether it's Asia, Europe or America. Hangs on then for the moment to that third place. Jasmin Jaffar, though, he's closing up in fourth. Look in the next Mercedes, the blue Mercedes there in fourth spot. And Reid Harker in fifth place, the EBN Giga Racing Porsche. Reid Harker impressed yesterday. Their result was kind of against them, really, thanks to the spin that was suffered earlier on by Saitawan Santoso, the Indonesian driver. But Reid Harker now coming good as the cars work their way down towards a much drier today spoon curve. Even this morning, much standing water on the inside, but that's evaporating quickly. So the Suzuka Circuit looking much more favourable as far as hard racing is concerned today. But right now the battle is on for third, fourth and fifth, with Ara being caught a bit by Jaffar and Jasmin in turn being caught by Reid Harker. So that battle pack is building up nicely. Then in sixth place there is the Aston Martin from D Station, which is at the moment being driven by Tomonobu Fuji. The car's now up to the triangle. You can see here, third, fourth and fifth then. Not much to choose between them. Fuji for sixth is being given a hard time by Sandy Stuvik in the Seoul Audi in the entry. There's an Audi R8 LMS that won the very first GT World Challenge Asia race back in 2017 at Sepang, but they're not quite as popular these days. The Mercedes has become a popular brand, so is the Porsche, but we've still got good variety on this grid. As you look there at Reid Harker turning out of the first corner, and now in fact Jasmin Jaffar dropping away from Saiji Ara and having to think a bit more about defending that fourth place. Reid Harker is a man on a mission going after him. They're sixth and seventh, Fuji ahead of Stuvik. Reid Harker in the Porsche there in the background, massively successful karting driver before he came into cars. Was the graduate of New Zealand Formula First. He's done the odd race in the new Chris Lambden inspired Formula 5000 category. He was a runner-up in the Toyota Racing Series Toyota 86 Championship as well. He's racing Carrera Cup, so he's a very accomplished driver, is Reid Harker. No mean esports racer either. That's Sandy Stuvik, who would have been in the silver class with Marchie Lee, had the sister car not had a fire on Friday and been beyond repair. So to allow the paying driver David Pun a chance to race this weekend, Sandy Stuvik has been put into Pro-Am. David Pun put into that car, and certainly Sandy Stuvik, graduate of European single-seater racing, will be the man to watch in that, trying to get the car as high up the order as he can be. Number 30 Porsche down in 9th place, so Yuta Kamimura struggling a little bit, and that's got a 10-second success penalty to serve in the pits. The leader, of course, has 15. He's only 2 seconds clear at the moment, so Cozzolino has really got to get the hammer down here and try and build that gap. Nick Foster in second place will serve 5 seconds, but at the moment it's advantage Mercedes, isn't it? And the reason that we have these top 3 penalties is to try and stop one team, one combination of drivers running away with the championship. In GT4 right now, the category lead claimed by number 33, the Mercedes of Hiroaki Hatano, but at the moment Shinya Hosokawa, another ex-British Formula 3 racer at the wheel of it, so Shinya Hosokawa leads GT4 from number 14 of Hideto Yasuoka, who we heard from on the grid, so it's Mercedes 1-2 in GT4, that is. In GT3, as you look at Nick Foster, it's Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Aston Martin, underlining the variety that we have within the top 6 within the championship. Nick Foster then with the margin last time being 2.4 seconds, dropping away a little bit further from the leading car of Kei Cozzolino. There is Saijiara, won Le Mans for Audi back in 2004, comes through the snake towards Dunlop. Just when you think you've got to the end of the snake, there's another bit that bites you, and then eventually there's this longer banked climb that takes you out of that sequence of corners and the fast run up towards Dagenham. That's Jasmine Jaffar then in 4th place, the Malaysian driver, yet another graduate of the UK single-seater scene from Formula BMW into Formula 3, but now very much an accomplished sports car and GT racer. And Jasmine Jaffar hustles on. Just about gapped Reed Harker enough, I suspect, to feel a little bit more comfortable now in that 4th place. But the man from Kuala Lumpur, Jasmine Jaffar, regular this year in the European Le Mans Series, presses on, in turn trying to stay on the tail of Saijiara in the BMW. Nick Foster, though, in 2nd place up towards Spoon Curve. And you can see how much commitment there is as he tries to wring everything out of that Mercedes and stay within striking distance. Now, in a sense, he doesn't need to worry too much about getting past there, Kei Cozzolino. He just needs to be within 10 seconds of him, because that's the difference they're going to have to serve in the pit. So even if he's within 10 seconds, he can be 9.9 back. He should be in the lead, or the car should be in the lead in the 2nd stint. Then it becomes interesting to see the relative pace of Takeshi Kimura, who will take over this car, compared to Jeffrey Ibrahim, who will take over the 2nd place Mercedes. Jeffrey Ibrahim, much less experienced a driver. Saijiara falling back, though, in 3rd place in the BMW, as you look then at the Mercedes coming out of the last curve up towards the timing line. Now that BMW might have a problem looking at the pace of it. That's the invitation class BMW M2, and it rather looks as though Sanako Jukicho has got a problem. Yes, he has. He pulls way offline, and that car expires, and this could be a safety car to get that out of the way. Jukicho looking as though he's trying to restart it, but it's not for moving, is it? The 2019, therefore the reigning GT4 champions, Kinoshita and Jukicho, looks as though that car has expired on track. He's not going to get up the hill. There is the GT4 leading car of Shinya Hosokawa. But we could be looking at a safety car here, which will in turn, of course, bunch up everybody. If that BMW can't get going, we do go safety car. Safety car deployed then, so the BM limped on, but I'm afraid to say brings out an interruption. So that's bad news for Kei Cozzolino, very, very definitely, because all the time that he'd been able to build up will now disappear. We go safety car, the GT4 pack comes over the line. We're under safety car conditions. The safety car will enter the circuit, I suspect, once all the traffic has gone through, and pick up that car. Kei Cozzolino thinks, oh bother, or words to that effect, because it will bring Nick Foster closer to him. Now that pit window is between 25 and 35 minutes, so it shouldn't take long to get the BMW out of the way, hopefully. But what it does do, of course, therefore, is reduce the amount of time available for Cozzolino to go racing and build up the gap again before the pit stop window opens. You can anticipate the majority, if not all the cars in GT3 to pit late, because they'll keep the faster driver out for as long as possible here. So the safety car boards are there, the lights flash, and there is a yellow flag being waved, as you can see, but it's the lights that are far more visible around here. Indeed, at most circuits now, you can always see the neon lights flashing. And this is a look into the Car Guy garage. So Kei Cozzolino's team, they're looking at all the timing data, they're looking at the track map to see where the opposition is. Well, right now, it's all stacked up behind, because, of course, we've got this bunching up situation. And Cozzolino here has caught up to number 4 of Masaki Fuji, but that Mercedes needs to be waved past the safety car, so it scoops up the race leader, and then that Mercedes needs to try and get a wriggle on and catch the queue. There is the safety car, so the Mercedes behind the GT4 car needs to be waved by, because as you can see, that's not the leader. So ideally you want the leader behind. It's not actually an essential part. Now there is the car that we've got the safety car out for. It's limped back to the pit lane. It's always a massive frustration for a race director, that just when you commit to something, the problem goes away. Clearly it has got a problem, but it's limped into the pit lane. So therefore now the delay isn't going to be in getting this car out of the way, it's going to be putting the order correct and allowing that GT4 Mercedes past the safety car, and that car will then need to try and push on and catch up to the queue GT3 and GT4 cars that are, of course, on the lead lap and would therefore form behind the safety car itself. That's what's happened, in part, because the Mercedes has gone by. So, depending on how much of the real estate it can claw back, bearing in mind you're meant to be going at a reduced pace under the safety car, we could even go racing again this time, because the problem on the road is no longer there, it's in the pit lane. So the track is clear. Jasmine Jafar being given a lifeline, hasn't been catching right up to Saiji Ara in all of this. Now they're just going through shot, that sort of carbon fibre coloured Ferrari, up into the top 10 now. So this is Kyoto Fujinama at the wheel of it. Kyoto Fujinama, the Super GT champion, and hustling on. So for Yogibo, sponsors of that car, important to have it on the grid. There it is in the background, just turning through ahead of the blue LM Corsa Ferrari. But whatever it has gained in track position in this first stint, some of it's going to be lost with that 3-minute penalty that it's got to serve for the replacement of major parts. That's the GT4 leading Mercedes coming down towards the second part of the Degner curve. Shinya Hosokawa at the wheel of it. Hosokawa, who was in fine form yesterday. Honours yesterday, Jun Toshiro and Tatsuya Tanigawa. This car fourth. The Mercedes there in second in GT4 is the number 12 Toyota Supra of Morihiro Sato and Katsuyuki Hironaka, behind the wheel of which is Hironaka for this first stint of the race. So the safety car, I think, can come in this time. And so we'll be back racing as soon as then for the resumption of round 4 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS. Confirmation on screen, safety car in this lap. So the race direction team busily working away to make sure that the cars aren't going to catch that delayed Mercedes. Kei Kotsalino then jinks around a little bit to try and get the pressures back up and the warmth into the tyres once more. And although safety cars can breed safety cars, hopefully we won't have another quick one like we did yesterday. We can go racing and look forward to the remainder of this stint. So we have got round about 10 minutes before the pit window opens, but I wouldn't expect any of the GT3 cars to be in. There is Kyoto Fujinami then. Fujinami onto the back of the Porsche as they come down towards the triangle, so he's looking for a way to get himself up and past Kamimura. Yuta Kamimura fending him off for the moment as now they come over the line. That means you can go racing once more. You can overtake if you're close enough. Cotsalino and Foster still giving the tyres a good old work over to try to get them up to temperature for this corner, into which they now dive. Through turn 1, then Ferrari leads Mercedes. And we're back racing then here at Suzuka as the cars sprint their way into the snake. Back under green flag conditions as Cotsalino leads Foster, Ara third. But again, look, the BMW has dropped back with Jasmine Jafar in fourth, Reid Harker still fifth, and Tomonobu Fuji in sixth in the D station. Aston Martin as the leaders then now for the 7th time, head up towards the Degner curve. Speed building all the time at this point, and there Reid Harker coming under attack from the Aston Martin. Fuji now lining up to try to have a go, possibly. It's a brave effort if he can make it work into the Degners. Well, no, he can't there, so through the first part, thinks better of it. But now that Aston has got good pace on the restart. Of course, the Pirelli tyre on which everybody runs in this championship is a new one for this year, and teams, drivers tell you that they're much harder to find the absolute operating window than the previous model. So depending on the car, the temperature, the time of day, all sorts of factors make them a more challenging tyre. And it looks as though the Aston Martin has got its to work quicker on the restart than the Porsche of Reid Harker there, because Tomonobu Fuji is certainly giving him a hard time as they come then now down to Spoon Curve once more. Turn through that long left and they get back onto the power. The road falls away, then it climbs, and you head up towards 130R, the penultimate key part of the circuit. The GT3 field then streaming through. The GT4 contest still being headed at the moment by Hosokawa from Hironaka. And Tanigawa in the car that was victorious yesterday, still with a bit of work to do, fourth in class. The leaders then into the triangle, and you can see there just how much closer Fuji is to the back of the Porsche of Harker. out of the final curve up towards the timing line. The leader goes by. Kei Cozzolino is a second and a half to the good. Nick Foster second, Saiji Ara third, Jasmine Jaffar in fourth. And there's that battle for fifth place. Reid Harker just ahead of Tomonobu Fuji, and Sandy Stuvik seventh in the Audi. Now, that car not quite close enough to challenge yet. Sandy Stuvik is giving it a go right enough, isn't he? So Sandy Stuvik coming into picture now there in the white, blue and yellow, very colourful Audi of the Audi Sport Asia Team X-Works squad, hustling on, trying to close onto the tail of this little fight between Reid Harker and then Tomonobu Fuji in the green, very British racing green Aston Martin. Jasmine Jaffar's pace is a bit curious though at the moment, because again he's fallen away slightly from Saiji Ara. He's not yet fallen into the clutches necessarily of the Harker and Fuji squabble. There they put a lap on the number 4 Mercedes, keeping well out of the way. That is a GT4 AM entry, so it's a much slower pace than the GT3 cars. But Jasmine Jaffar possibly is now being caught by Harker, closing right up under braking at the hairpin is Reid Harker. But Jaffar can't get away from him, can't stay with Saiji Ara, despite really being given a second chance at that with that safety car period. Leaders plunge downhill then, heading towards Spoon Curve. Jaffar using all of the curb. They couldn't really afford to do that yesterday in the wet, but today they can, and I just wonder therefore whether we're going to get any track limit dramas as Harker goes a little bit wide coming through the second part of Spoon Curve. In the background there, look, Yamimura tries to make his move. Kamimura in the number 30 Porsche on the inside line then, so Yuta Kamimura gets up alongside Keita Sawa and goes through on the inside line there. So Kamimura goes 8th at the expense of Sawa. Porsche goes ahead of McLaren, although Sawa tries to fight back, and you've also got Fujinami in the mix as well. Look in the Yogibo Ferrari right round the outside there. Fantastic move. So Fujinami gains the place, and after all the work that they put into this car overnight, it would be really, really proper, I suppose, if Kyoto Fujinami could give them a good result. He's up against it with this 3-minute penalty in the pits, but Fujinami, having a red-hot go, clears the McLaren then, and Keita Sawa, another hugely experienced Japanese driver, you can see how much time he's lost straight away to the charging Kamimura in the oh-so-distinctive Dayglow Porsche. Need your sunglasses on for that car, especially today as he comes through the snake, but Kamimura, who went well yesterday to finish in second place, he's got 10 seconds to serve in the pit stop when that car is handed over to Hiroaki Nagai, and he needs therefore to get on with this and try and put the car in the best possible position, given that that penalty will need to be served. So there, turning through is Kyoto Fujinami, as here Tomonobu Fuji is getting himself a little bit closer again to the back of Reid Harker, who's now seemingly stuck behind Jasmine Jaffar. Can't get past him. They're both being caught there, Harker and Fuji, by the increasingly impressive Sandy Stuvik, the Thai Norwegian driver, closing all the time. There he is in the Audi in the background. Cozzolino's margin is 2 seconds now over Foster, but he needs more than 10 because Nick Foster, when he gives the car over to Jeffrey Ibrahim, is going to get the advantage on the pit stops with a shorter pit stop penalty to serve. So Cozzolino, yes, looks good up front, but he's not getting away enough. Car number 3, BMW, officially retired, we understand from race control. That car having limped to the pit lane with its problem. It can't be diagnosed in time to get it sorted, to get it back on track before the end of the race. So the TC Invitation Class M2 BMW out of the race, the M2 CSR. Right, leader comes up towards the timing line. Kei Cozzolino then ahead of Nick Foster. There they are, the margin up to 2.6 seconds. So Cozzolino has got the pace, but he's not exactly storming away. BMW flags being vigorously waved in the crowd by one of the fans for Saiji Ara, who goes through there in 3rd place. And then 4th is this long queue behind Jaffar. Then there's Harker, then there is Fuji, then there is Stubik. And look at the way that behind all of them, Kamimura is hustling along in the bright orange Porsche. Here, number 60 Ferrari of Wakisaka coming under attack now from Tanat Satarin-Tirankul, who tries to line up for a move on the inside there, but he can't quite get up alongside. So Shigekatsu Wakisaka hangs onto the place, but I think that Satarin-Tirankul has got his designs on that. He's going to achieve it pretty soon. The Porsche heads out of the snake now towards Dunlop. nose to tail they run, and as they do so, here you can see the amount of effort being put into the Ferrari as it moves far more across the racetrack as the Japanese driver Wakisaka tries to hang on to the place. One other thing that has to be borne in mind heading into this is that the races this weekend form the first 2 rounds of the Fanatec Japan Cup, open to Japanese teams and drivers. After yesterday, of course, Kei Consolino and Takeshi Kimura took the lead of it in GT3 from Hiroaki Nagai and Yuta Kamimura, second in yesterday's race, and third in Japan Cup, 5th yesterday, Kei Nakanishi and Shigekatsu Wagisaka, who are in that blue Ferrari we were looking at, whereas in GT4, again, based on yesterday's results, the number 33 Mercedes you're looking at here is third. The Toyota Supra behind there is second in the Japan Cup in the championship, and leading Japan Cup after yesterday for GT4 cars, the Team Scala Mercedes of Jun Toshiro and Tatsuya Tanigawa. So this battle on now in GT4 that you're looking at is for the overall lead. Again, in GT4 we have got Silver Am and Am battles alongside the overall GT4 situation. And this is for the category lead as they come then up towards Spoon Curve. The Toyota Supra, increasingly popular GT4 car, whether it's in the UK, in France, in the European series, or out here. And Katsuyuki Hironaka really hustling on now as he tries to close up those last couple of lengths. Now we've got another safety car being called for, I notice. We've not seen the incident, but the safety car deployed once more, so everybody slows right down, and this is about 2 minutes before the window would open. Never an ideal time for the safety car for the teams, nor for the race director. So the safety car will enter the circuit in a moment. So the safety car conditions called for, that slows everybody down. There's no full course yellow used in this championship. The race director here chooses not to go full course yellow, so it's safety car or green basically, and trying to see where the incident might be. So the cars will start to bunch up, and there, now Sandy Stuvik has come into the pit lane, possibly with some damage. You saw a tyre stack being put back into place. The barrier might have been moved. So is Sandy Stuvik the culprit there? That car, as you see, dropping down the order because it's before the pit window anyway, so it's going to have to come back in to make its mandatory stop. But it looks as though that's picked up some damage somewhere. It's not a quick fix, is it, as the mechanics go to work? But again, if that is the issue, it shouldn't take long to get that barrier back into where it needs to be, unless there's something else that's happened. Can't see on the timing screen's tracking system that there's another car missing. The McLaren there comes towards the Spoon Curve long left-hander of Yudai Uchida, and behind is Ben Porter in the AM class leading Porsche. Right, there's the safety car then, so again, Kei Consolino's heart sinks. But I think we have a clear road because the marshals have put the barrier back into place. The pit window is going to open on time, so that's going to be effectively during this lap. If you're at the back of the queue, you might be able even to dive in coming up to the line. If you're a GT4 car, you might be able to get it done this time. Really bad news again for Consolino this, because it denies him the opportunity to try and pull clear again, because this is going to eat into the window. The teams are ready, and in fact they might as well, it looks like car guy are ready, get him in and get the stop done. Because again, if you do it now, what that means is you're losing less time under these safety car conditions to serve that 15 seconds, because everybody's going slowly in trying to make that under conditions. So we'll see if that turns out to be the case. The Comet team are ready as well, they've got cars coming in. But it might only be one lap under the safety car here, depending on what the race director wishes to do. Ben Porter bails early to give the car back to patron, Andrew McPherson. One thing that was evident yesterday, post-race, was how many of the cars had got bits of grass in the radiators at the front. Not that many people have been off, but it does seem to get blown from the grass towards the car. Maybe also because they were heading close to the grass at times to keep tyres cool. That had something to do with it. There's number 12 Toyota serving its mandatory stop as well, as into that car now gets Motoharu Sato, replacing Katsuyuki Hironaka. And I think also in has come 55, you can see it in the background there, the Mercedes of Jun Tashiro and Tatsuya Tanegawa. Tashiro takes that car over. Safety car in this lap, I'm being told, so the safety car will be in this time. And also we understand is that the pit window is going to be extended by 3 minutes due to the slow pace of the cars under the safety car. But if the safety car is peeling back in, that might need a rethink. We've not yet had that confirmed on the timing screen, but there is news to that effect. Yes, now from race control confirming it, the pit window will be extended by 3 minutes, so that can go on the timing screen for the teams, no doubt, in a moment. We're going to go back racing though. The safety car will peel back in and Cozzolino will hustle on again. So yeah, it isn't really worth coming in to get that stop done now, because you're no longer under safety car conditions. You'll be doing it under green flag conditions, so you're stationary, everybody else is going at a proper race pace as the car's now accelerating to 130R. The Toyota GR Supra will go for the pit lane once more, and this time got Nick Foster staying right on the tail of Kei Cozzolino as they come into the triangle. So this is going to be an interesting fight now between the two. The Mercedes this time looking a lot more racy, and Cozzolino does go for the pit lane, in fact, so that's maybe a curious decision. You could argue that the field will be tighter bunched at the end of this lap than the next one, but even so, let's see what strategy call this turns out to be. And we've not had confirmation on the timing screen of that pit window extension. It might not happen because we've gone back to green flag conditions. So had it been a longer safety car period, anyway, we will await confirmation, but it's not been on the timing screen, therefore that message has not been communicated to the teams. You can see how many are pouring in. It might be academic anyway, because I think most people will have served the stops. Look, it's going to be very, very busy down there. New tyres go onto the Ferrari for Takeshi Kimura. Even though it's a long pit lane here, with other championships using it, the GT teams into one area, it means you've got to get on with your neighbour here to make sure that you're not hemmed in. But that Ferrari has to sit there at the end of its 90 seconds. Well, it's 90 seconds line to line, but it's got this extra 15 to factor in. And this is another challenge for the teams now, to make sure they make it absolutely right in terms of calling the car away from the pit box. They'll have calculated the drive time at the regulation speed. They'll know exactly when, therefore, they need to release the car so that it's a tenth of a second over when it goes pit out, not under the time. Kei Cozzolino then, helmet off. Good stint, but a frustrating one with those two safety cars. Yeah, couldn't do any more than that, he said, really frustrating. But we will see. Takeshi Kimura is a quick driver, and the pit window, we are now having it confirmed, will remain as the original time. Here's the mass exodus then, it's not the start of qualifying, coming down the pit lane, and you can see the Aston Martin there has jumped ahead of number 5 BMW, so number 5 BM has made a slower stop. That could be that some teams lose places because they are slow, it could be that others gain places because they are too quick, and that will all come out of TSL's data. So if there's an alert to say this is the time, then again that can be passed to the race director, who can pass it to the stewards, and the penalty can be applied if people haven't adhered to the pit stop time. So race leader for the moment becomes Nick Foster, yet to stop, and behind will be Yuta Kamimura, yet to stop. Nick Foster, the Australian driver, hurls the car into turn 1. We have still just about half the race to go, and the main aim now for that is to try and, again, as we were talking about in the context of Cozzolino and this man Kimura, try and build the gap for him to consolidate late race. So Nick Foster doing the best that he can in the limited amount of time he's got before he needs to pit. Takeshi Kimura there then in the car guy Ferrari, comes towards the hairpin. He's in traffic behind Hiroshi Hamaguchi there, but the 51-year-old Japanese driver, a regular in Ferraris in the ELMS this year, started in the Asian Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Now what's all this safety car done to number 27? It is in the pit lane at the moment, so it's serving its stop. Bearing in mind that that car has to make an extra 3 minutes, so with the pace slowed, it's perhaps not going to lose out quite as badly as it could have done. There, an effort by Kimura, mows the lawn on the inside, heading up towards 130 yard and trying to get alongside Hiroshi Hamaguchi. These two touched yesterday, and it was the contact that spun the Ferrari that made them roll the dice on the tyres that made them win the race. But through on the inside line goes Takeshi Kimura, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi drops back then almost into the clutches of Nakanishi behind him in the Ferrari, who's coming on strong too in the Ellen Corsa entry. But Takeshi Kimura then into his stint. We'll see where this puts him relative to the other stoppers in a moment as he comes over the timing line. Jasmine Jaffar and Reid Harker have also been in, but Nick Foster here prevails as the race leader. So as the cars stream by, Nick Foster stayed out that time, I think I'm right in saying. No, he's in this time. Nick Foster is in. There he is down the pit lane. So Nick Foster is in. And let's, as we watch this car come down the pit road here from Kei Cozzolino then, after that really frustrating first stint for him. Kei Cozzolino is out of the car guy Ferrari and he's in the pit lane.
Yeah, with Kei Cozzolino in the garage, so frustrating for you. We're just starting to creep away in 2 safety cars.
Very unlucky. I mean, we were pulling a good gap, probably 7 seconds. I think without a safety car, maybe even 10. Today's our success pit stop penalty was 15 seconds, so the target was to really pull off 15 seconds, box, and then try to go for the second win today. But 2 safety cars, it's all neutral now. I don't know. I mean, I hope we can have more virtual safety cars or something in the future because it just neutralizes the race. It's a pity, but anyways, let's see what Kimura-san can pull off now.
How's the car feeling out there?
Yeah, really good. I mean, fastest lap. Nick Foster was pulling out some good laps too. He was doing 202s at the beginning, so I had to really push hard. I was trying to manage the tires at the beginning, but he was pushing me, so yeah, we were on the limit.
Good luck. Cheers.
Dave Roberts in the pit lane with Kei Cozzolino then, reflecting on the difficulties of trying to pull out a big gap. It's hard enough anyway, 15 seconds, but certainly when you've got 2 safety car periods in your stint, it's very hard indeed. Had they, of course, had them in the second stint, it would have brought Kimura back into the mix. We'll see what he can do. Now there, down the pit road goes Jeffrey Ibrahim, who's taken over from Nick Foster. In the background as well, the Porsche that was brought in by Yuji Kamimura has been given over to Hiroaki Nagai. So they are on track now as well. So at the end of this next lap, we'll get a better idea of the order. There is the Porsche that's going to blend in behind Saiji Ara's BMW that's now being driven by Tomohiro Yamaguchi, but ahead of Kimura. So you can see how much ground Kimura has lost there as he goes into turn 1. Those 15 seconds are certainly a major factor to losing place after place after place. You've got the ability to push on and gain some of them back though before the very end, as you saw. Oh, now big drama there. That is the car that Reid Harker started, and Saito Santoso has crashed and he's taken the rear wing off the car. So the EBM Giga Racing Porsche down the pit lane with its damage. Now what he's hit, one assumes is a barrier rather than a car, looking at the rear wing. That's got tyre barrier damage written all over it, hasn't it? So down the pit road comes number 8. It's not Reid Harker at the wheel, it is Santoso. And so the car stops. I would imagine that's the end of it, to be honest, because although it only looks like the rear wing has been damaged, there's probably more internal damage than just that we can't really see. So the team has a look, but after a spin yesterday that cost them places, and off today, it looks like it's cost them the chance of a finish. And Saito Santoso's car with rear damage looks like it's going no further. Now, 3rd and 4th at the moment, we have got the top 2 in AM, where the car of Yusuke Yamasaki, the Honda, is ahead of number 51 Porsche of Andrew McPherson. And effectively, because of that second safety car period, they've been given a free ride. Drama here as well. Look, as all of a sudden, Satoshi Hoshino's Aston comes under attack from an absolutely inspired Yamaguchi in the BMW, who throws it up the inside line there and gets himself up past 888. So that puts him ahead of Abu Ibrahim. The BMW all of a sudden on a mission. Part of that, I think, was because they got held up a little bit behind Hoshino, but Hoshino in turn now clears the traffic. It was the 888 Mercedes that was the slow one, and therefore that got jumped by the Aston. Now also up and past as well has gone Yamaguchi. Number 4 Mercedes tries to get out of the way, but right now it is on the times after the pit stops, the AMS first and second overall. So Honda number 7 leads the race, having been slowest in qualifying for this race, but now Yusuke Yamasaki leads from Andrew McPherson, 8 seconds between them. But yes, that second safety car period has certainly helped them, effectively giving them a free pit stop. They came in very, very early when the window opened, because they were able to do that under their track position, and that certainly paid dividends then for Yamasaki and McPherson to be first and second. Battle is on here. Porsche to the inside line, and as they try and sort themselves through the traffic, the AAS Motorsport Porsche gets collected and spins, and off goes the Mercedes as well. So that was Abu Ibrahim being monstered by the Porsche in the hands for this stint of Kantadi Kusiri. And off the road also, look, has gone number 30 of Nagai, and more have ploughed into this as well. There's one hidden behind the timing tower. It's the McLaren out of GT4. So big damage. This will be a safety car, I would have thought, with cars and debris on the road, cars in the gravel. It all started when Abu Ibrahim got together with Kantadi Kusiri. They spun as they tried to get past the traffic, and others have got caught up in it as well. They're off the road. Hiroaki Nagai, second yesterday, that car going no further, and you've got the McLaren stranded as well. So with 22 minutes on the clock, looks like we might have another interruption here. That's going no further by the look of it, and Hiroaki Nagai very frustrated indeed. So this was the start of it. So number 18 Porsche, Kantadi Kusiri, makes his move up the inside, tries to get through the traffic, gets alongside the McLaren, and Kusiri gets a squeeze. The contact unsettles both, so round they go. Now, they, at that point, have just about avoided anything solid. But, yes, there's the real drama. It was the number 30 Porsche got into the back of the McLaren, slow to avoid the mayhem. So the safety car is called for again. And Hiroaki Nagai was the innocent party in all of that, really. It looked as though number 888 of Abu Ibrahim got away relatively lightly. That car went off the road and back on again. Kusiri was facing the wrong way, was trying to sort himself out. Right, out of all of this, then, there's the McLaren with its broken rear suspension, trying to come back to the pit lane, but the Japanese lady driver, Yuko Suzuki, is going no further. That car is out, and it needs retrieving. There is Kantadi Kusiri, who will rejoin then, and it's also kind of thrown a lifeline by the safety car, because it means he can close some of that lost time. Yamasaki leading McPherson then. Third is Jeffrey Ibrahim now. Fourth is Satoshi Hoshino in the Aston. Fifth will be number 5, which is the BMW in the hands of Tomohiro Yamaguchi. And in 6th place is Takeshi Kimura. So this certainly helps Kimura. Absolutely helps Kimura. We'll see by exactly how much. There indeed is the 777 car guy racing Ferrari going through. How much it helps is rather dependent on how many racing laps we get. But the Hiroaki Nagai Porsche has to be scooped up out of the gravel bed, and only when the road is clear. The McLaren's got to be collected as well. Can we think about going racing? Kantadi Kusiri, there, number 18, after the spin, is in 11th place now. So that car is still going. And another look at the incident. So Kusiri, quicker in the Porsche, tried to use the traffic to his advantage and block the Mercedes. They went 3 wide under the flyover, but here, look, the Mercedes tries to get the line for the corner, perhaps unaware of where the Porsche was. The contact between the two is enough to send them both spinning. But then have a look at the McLaren, because as Yuko Suzuki slows to avoid the drama, bang, right into the back goes Nagai. So that's the end of the McLaren suspension, and it's front damage and into the gravel for the Porsche. So Nagai was the driver that hit the back of the McLaren. He's in the gravel, and the two that started the whole thing drive off serenely and continue. The incident between Ibrahim and Kusiri is under investigation, and we've got the safety car out on track. So number 7 is the lead car, the Honda, and then you've got a couple of back markers between it and 51. So that's rather bad news for number 12, which is the Sato-driven Toyota, because that's now lost the opportunity for a GT4 win, because it's trapped behind the leader overall, and the GT4 leader will get the best part of a lap's advantage over it by joining the back of the queue. So some win, some lose under the safety car. There, the Toyota is a loser, and 55 on its tail of Tashiro, Jun Tashiro. That might be a winner in as much as it could gain a place, but neither of them are going to catch the class leader. Number 5, the BMW here of Tomohiro Yamaguchi, looking inspired, and behind you can see 6th is Takeshi Kimura. Top speeds, Yamaguchi's BMW doing 152.8 mph. Kaita Sawa's McLaren 152.4, equal by Takeshi Kimura. And then Saiji Ara was on that speed in his earlier stint. Those speeds coming over the line and split between the different drivers now. We can compare and contrast in the 2 stints. Right, the clock ticks on down, and we've got cars to retrieve. The damage on that Porsche looks worse now. The thing's trying to be dragged away. It looks like the bodywork's sort of come forward, which is ideal. Let's hide it behind the graphic for a moment as the safety car comes through. There, Yuko Suzuki still limps on in the McLaren, and has got the car to the triangle. So that's good news, because that means that there's a bit less clearing up to be done, with only 1 car to move. Broken suspension, punctured tyre, limps in. So the McLaren out of the race. Big disappointment for Yuko Suzuki. That car limps down the pit road. So it remains the AMs, amazingly enough, because of their pit stop timing, first and second, and then Jeffrey Ibrahim third, fourth Satoshi Hoshino, fifth is Yamaguchi, sixth Kimura. So Yamasaki leads McPherson. There, going through shot, is the orange and white Porsche that Ben Porter started, and now AMAC himself, Andrew McPherson, is in second place in leading car, having qualified slowest in Q2. Has now Yusuke Yamasaki behind the wheel and leads. There's the broken McLaren sitting in the pit lane. It's the end of the day as far as that car is concerned, and as Yamasaki, 6th in the championship when we last ran Fanatec GT over here back in 2019, former Ferrari Challenge racer as well. The Comet Racing Honda leads the way. More fluid pours from the back of the McLaren. Comet Racing, incidentally, that runs the Honda at Shinji Nakano's team, former Grand Prix racer. So through 130R come the drivers, with that clock ticking on down. And there, as I was mentioning, the Toyota Supra second in GT4, but now effectively losing a lap against the class leader, because that's at the back of the crocodile, it is at the front. So 1 more lap at least with the safety car on the road. And as the leaders come through, you can start to now see where the battles are going to come from, because look, the weaving Mercedes of Jeffrey Ibrahim is on the back of Andrew McPherson. Then you've got a couple of GT4 cars. Then there is the Hoshino, Yamaguchi, Kimura trio. The McLaren pushed away. So Yuko Suzuki's day is done, certainly for her. That's the end of that. So safety car stays on track at least for now. The incident between Kusiri and Ibrahim being looked at. The Malaysian Prince, one of the 2 brothers. So Abu Ibrahim, Jeffrey Ibrahim, going in the same stint as the lower derogated driver. And there you've got the race-leading Honda, but can it prevail? It still looks like that Mercedes of Jeffrey Ibrahim has an advantage, but then that's the trio that intrigues, really. Hoshino, Yamaguchi and Kimura. Quick, more experienced drivers as well, but they are the AMs in the Pro-Am cars, whereas you've got AMs in AM cars ahead of them. So in theory, pace should be pretty similar. It's going to be really interesting to see what pans out in the remaining minutes of this race. And we are short on minutes for those drivers that want to gain places, because we, as yet, haven't been told that the safety car's coming in this time. It's a long lap, as I was saying earlier on, nearly 6 kilometres long, the Suzuka Circuit. So the time doesn't allow for too many laps, and now we'll get an idea as to how the clear-up operation is going underneath that flyover. And our marshals on posts. Is there a Porsche of the gravel still? We'll find out in a second. To the hairpin they come. So this was the incident zone, and as the safety car turns through the corner, the cement dust is down. Whether that needs sweeping into place with so little time remaining, we'll have to wait and see. But the marshals aren't going back to post, which does suggest they're going to rush out and give it another brush, which means another lap possibly. So the liquid put down. It's oil as well as other fluids that are being pressed, we understand. So that's the reason for the safety car having to stay out at least for one more lap. But yeah, again, it doesn't help those that need the time to make progress. It does help Yusuke Yamasaki, though, who hangs on to the lead. We don't see very many of the Honda NSX GT3s racing, so they're always a highlight when we do, and good to have that car on this grid. So down towards 130R once again. 2 back markers between the top 2, and the safety car comes towards 130R. The lights still flash. When the lights go out, it will be the indication that it will peel into the pit lane, and the lights do go out this time, so we are going to go racing. It's a late call, but it's a good one because it gives us another racing lap, so this is good news. Safety car will be in this time, and so now it is going to be up to Yamasaki, the race leader, to try to scamper into the distance while others clear the traffic to try to get up with him. So he stacked the field up coming into the triangle. Remember as well, you can't start to overtake until you've crossed the timing line, so it again reduces the chances that Andrew McPherson has of being able to go with him, because he's going to be stuck behind the GT4 traffic that's slower anyway. And look now, Yamasaki is away and gone as he comes out of that last curve, and Andrew McPherson is slow in turn coming onto the pit straight also. So not only can he not get past the GT4 cars, he's not even with them, and that's not great news either for Jeffrey Ibrahim. So over the line they come. Now look in the background, Hoshino tries to cover off the move of Yamaguchi. There is Kimura in that. This is for second place then, and through on the inside line goes Jeffrey Ibrahim. Down to turn 1, the 888 Mercedes goes through. We've got a change imminent for second in GT4 just up the road ahead of them, because the Toyota Mercedes battle was overlapping as the cars went to the snake, but the Toyota just about stays there for the moment. To the outside line there in the traffic goes Yamaguchi. Has he done it? He has, so he clears the back marker. That blue Mercedes is the GT4 car. It's not one of the 888 GT3 entries. And now Kimura tries to make his move as well. But Jeffrey Ibrahim for 888 storms on, looking for a second win of the championship league, with Nick Foster going well. And a stop-go penalty is being given to 888, the sister car, for the incident with the Porsche. So a quick decision. 888 gets a stop-go penalty as the leaders come through. There, look, Kimura comes up to try to have a go, but I think all of a sudden Hiroshi Hamaguchi is another man to watch, isn't he? Because as there, look, they're in the traffic. Hamaguchi in the Lamborghini has cleared Kimura, who leans a little bit on the outside line of Ibrahim. There's 888, the car that's got to serve this stop-go, but it's losing places anyway. Hiroshi Hamaguchi then in number 19 Lamborghini is moving up the order, and Kimura has lost out. 3 wide they come now. Andrew McPherson being attacked on all sides. Past him on the contact off the road goes Hoshino. He takes the GT4 Mercedes with him. More drama at Spoon Curve, and off they've gone. McPherson slow in the Porsche, and maybe the car had a problem to begin with, which is why it was slow on the restart, and that's created more mayhem, more cars off the road. And I would imagine it's going to be another safety car, surely. Satoshi Hoshino at very, very high speed off the circuit. And so there you can see the Aston Martin is out of the race. And the Mercedes, the GT4 Mercedes that's off the road as well, is the car that won yesterday, number 55 of Jun Toshiro and Tatsuya Tanigawa. So what does all this give us? There is as yet no yellow flag. Yes, there is now on the screen. Safety car being called for the 4th time. We've got the safety car, and Yamasaki leads the way from Jeffrey Ibrahim as they came across the line, but the safety car has to be called for again. Did I say earlier on, safety cars breed safety cars? Well, they certainly have in this race, and that was all triggered by Andrew McPherson's Porsche being slow. Here you go again, look. So, look, Hoshino goes one side of him, Yamaguchi goes the other, and Hoshino, is there contact? No, he's just on the grass, isn't he? It's Hoshino on the grass, and he loses traction, and boom, just spears into that Mercedes, which was minding its own business, and that wipes out both of them. Yamaguchi goes way, way wide, and McPherson losing places there as he went through the corner. So Satoshi Hoshino, the 61-year-old Japanese driver, one of the more experienced on the grid, but in his zealotry to gain places there, 2 wheels on the grass, and eventually the car broke traction, spun around as you saw, and absolutely wipes out the GT4 Mercedes. They were better behaved in the wet. So I'm afraid to say it's one of those races where drama and incident aplenty have given us a lot to talk about, but it's given the teams a big damage bill. The safety car is going to enter the circuit in a moment and collect the leader. They've all slowed down under the safety car procedure like this, but how many racing laps are going to get in now with less than 8 minutes on the clock remains to be seen. So huge frustration. You can almost hear the groan out of race control as that incident happened. And as they come to Spoon Curve, the situation now is that the top 6 in fact, are all in a line with no back markers between them. They got through the GT4 cars, and out of them, the BMW, number 5, the car in the 50 years of M Sport branded colour scheme of Tomohiro Yamaguchi, looking very, very quick indeed, and that could be a real thorn in the side of the 888 Mercedes then. Jeffrey Ibrahim hanging on to second position for the moment. So to the end of lap 21 they come. Yesterday's wet race got 23 laps in, even with 2 safety car periods. We might just about clear that, but you can see how slow the pace becomes when you've got the safety car. Just look at the way the clock continues to tick on down, and you can then appreciate how little time there's going to be for racing mileage come the end of this safety car period. Now in GT4, where things are all busy happening, it gives us the number 33 Mercedes, there it is, as the class leading car. Hatano at the wheel of it from the Toyota of Sato, and then Brian Lee's Mercedes in 3rd place. So there is 33. Hiroaki Hatano at the wheel of the car now. It was started by Shinya Hosokawa. Safety car on track. Right, 6 minutes and counting. And a safety car lap is about 3 minutes. We might have a result here. We might have the order. Can't see that they're going to get them back up and running with 1 racing lap to go. And I would think there's only time really for 2 laps. 3 if you're really, really lucky in a safety car like this. The safety car is a fast-driven safety car. We might have a chance, but we will see. So yesterday's result was one of those quirky ones that sort of came out of nowhere, allowing the Kimura and Consolino win. You could argue this might be in the same vein, really, in as much as it has been the car that was slowest in qualifying coming into the mix. Out of all of this, by the way, the safety car periods have sort of helped the Yogibo Ferrari, because that car is in 13th place now. So it's time lost in the pit stop sort of negated by the innumerable safety car periods that we have had. So on track, Honda leads Mercedes, leads BMW, then leads Lamborghini, leads Ferrari, leads Porsche. Still intrigued to know what was going on with Andrew McPherson at the restart, who was slow away because you saw the GT4 cars jump clear, and then the car just did not seem to pick up pace on that restart lap, which in part, as he was being attacked left and right, was the sort of catalyst for the big incident that's caused this, believe it or not, 4th safety car period. So out of Degner come the race leaders. And I rather fear that we are going to end the race behind the safety car. Now, I can't see that we're going to have time left for one racing lap, because the cars come towards the hairpin, and with 2 cars to get out of the gravel up a smooth curve, then you just can't see that happening within the space of half a lap, which is what they would need in order to go racing. So therefore, provisionally, we're looking at a race win for the Comet Racing Honda for the first time of Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko. It was Yorikatsu Tsujiko that started. It is going to be, therefore, Yusuke Yamazaki that brings home the car, and for second place the championship leaders Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster provisionally, and for third it's going to be the BMW of Tomohiro Yamaguchi and Saiji Ara provisionally. But if you have a look in the background, yeah, the cars are still there. You can't go racing while you've got the car in the gravel like that. That was the whole reason for calling the safety car in the first place. So I would be astonished if the race does anything other than do its last lap under the safety car and a checkered flag comes at the end of it. The safety car might peel off, so you get the sort of ceremonial finish, but you can't overtake anyway in that period between the safety car peeling off and crossing the line. So the drivers preparing for a restart, still jinking around to try and keep some temperature in the tyres there, as you can see, as the cars now make that run towards 130R. But the checkered flag at the end of the next lap, I think, will greet them in a frustrating end to the race, given that they can't have one last run to the line. But such is the way of these things, sadly. So the cars turn through, and the race positions look settled. Honda to win here at Suzuka. Yesterday's race gave us lots to talk about, largely thanks to the inspired drive and the tyre choice of Kei Cozzolino. But today it has been rather more to do with all the incidents that we've had out on track. 888 of Abu Ibrahim is now in 12th place after that most recent penalty was served by it. And we're on target for the first Honda win in the championship, and the first time a GT3 AM entry has taken an outright win. So we've had a fair old mix of winning drivers and teams and brands over the years, but the first time it's going to be for a Honda, and the pit stop for the Honda team, the timing of it absolutely perfect in order to take that race win. The incident involving Satoshi Hoshino is going to be investigated at the end of the race, and the safety car will be in this lap, but so the checkered flag will greet them, so it's all rather academic. The order is the order is the order as they come out of the first curve. So the drivers bring the cars home, but this now the last lap. There is less than a lap time left in the race, as you can see on the clock, and so as the field turns up towards the snake, still at reduced speed, of course, the checkered flag will greet them this time. So even though the safety car will peel in, the race order we have. Gt4 is going to be taken, therefore, by the number 33 Mercedes, which is currently in an impressive 11th place overall. That's as much down to other people dropping off the road, it must be said, or having problems, as it is the good teamwork and pace of the Mercedes squad. But that car then running 11th overall and heading for a category victory, 33 being from the team GMB stable, and player manager, the owner of the team, Hiroaki Hatano, with Shinya Hosokawa heading for the class win. So the safety car brings them round, the clock hits 0, and the race then is going to end as it is now. So as the field comes to the hairpin, scene of one drama. There's the Yegibo Ferrari, which in the end will be 13th. It'll be a lap down, but has had very, very good pace And Naoki Yokomitsu, the man that crashed the original car at the first corner yesterday, coming out of turn 1, will bring it home today. So to the incident zone they come. Gives us a chance to have a look at how the situation is. The Aston has been moved to a safer place. The safety car will peel in, but the checkered flag should greet them. So it is up to Yusuke Yamazaki then to accelerate away and to bring the cars up towards the finish of the 4th round of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. For the first time, an AM winner. For the first time, the Honda will take victory as the pace quickens up towards the triangle for the last time. The Mercedes there in second place of Jeffrey Ibrahim chases, but it is all in vain. The checkered flag should be made ready. The cars come out of the triangle onto the pit straight. In is the safety car, up to the line, and as they break the beam, checkered flag is shown, and the race confirmed as a win for number 7 there, the Honda of the Comet Racing team of Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko wins from Nick Foster and Jeffrey Ibrahim, and then for 3rd, Saiji Ara and Tomohide Yamaguchi. The rest of the field come pouring over the line with a frustrated Hiroshi Hamaguchi taking 4th place with co-driver Meneki Okura after they were denied, like others, the chance of having a late race push because of the safety car. 5th in the end, Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino in the car guy Ferrari that won yesterday, and 6th, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. So they fell from 2nd to 6th and also fell away from the AM opposition. The Honda was kind of given a free ride, wasn't it, as the Porsche lost time on that most recent restart. So it is an AM win outright. The AM honours then to Yamazaki and Suzuka from McPherson and Porter. And is there a 3rd AM in GT3? There is not. It's just those 2 that made it. Or did number 2 McLaren get to the end? No, we lost that car early on as well. In the GT3 silver category, it was number 18 Porsche of Tanasato Tirokul and Kantadi Kosiri that won from number 27 Ferrari of Naoki Yokomitsu and Kyoto Fujinami, and they were the only silvers that made it. GT3 Pro-Am won by Jeffrey Ibrahim and by Nick Foster. 2nd in Pro-Am, Saiji Ara and Tomohiro Yamaguchi, and 3rd of the Pro-Ams, Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino. 888 didn't serve its stop-go penalty, I understand. Oh no, it might have done. It's served 2 pit stops. So one message saying it hasn't done, but I thought it had fallen back and therefore had done so. We'll double check, but that car down anyway in 12th place. So as the cars make their way out of the 130R to the appreciation of the marshals, the cars go to the pit lane, and we'll hopefully be able to hear from our race winners. Quick word about GT4, won by Hatano and Hirosaka. 2nd in GT4 in the end, number 12 Toyota Supra, and 3rd in GT4 the Mercedes number 14. So it means the team GMB car of Hiroaki Hatano and Shinya Hosokawa victorious from Motoharu Sato and Katsuyuki Hironaka, and then 3rd Brian Lee and Hideo Yasuoka. So looking down onto the winner's arch, there is the Honda that will go under the Fanatec Yogibo victory arch, and is flanked by Yamaguchi's BMW for 3rd and Ibrahim's Mercedes for 2nd. other cars required for the classes behind. In fact, I told you a lie earlier about GT3 AM because second in the class wasn't Andrew McPherson in the end, it was Hamaguchi and Okura, that car coming through for second. So there's a delighted Comet Racing team, a very, very happy Yusuke Yamazaki out of the car, and having qualified at the back of the class, slowest in the class yesterday. That is a win that's come out of nowhere. Amazing performance, and a very, very happy co-driver too, which is Yorikatsu Tsushiko. Another car guy. Backed car, but fantastic effort by both. And Takeshi Kimura arrives on the scene to say well done. He's as happy for them, I think, winning as he was for his own win yesterday. But very, very happy chap, Takeshi Kimura. That's what you like to see at the end of the race. Everybody having enjoyed themselves despite the travails and the problems caused by safety cars. It's a great result. So we have then a race win for Yusuke Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko, and the two drivers are poised in the pit lane. First ever outright AM win in the championship. First ever win for the Honda in the championship. There's a lot to celebrate. The first AM win, the first Honda win. The two drivers are with Dave Roberts.
So here we are down on Parc Fermé. My Japanese not the best, Yori's English not the best, but we have got a translator, guys. Many congratulations. Yori, first, your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
今日の優勝した感想は何？初めて。はい。
まさかアマチュアでしかも初めての大きなレースで優勝できると思ってませんでした。とても驚いてます。
Just one half of the team. Let's hear from the. I don't know if we can hear from the second half of the team, but how happy are they to come home in first place?
この1位になれて、このホームコースでどんな気持ちですかって。
ですね、アマチュアで総合優勝っていうのはね、なかなか経験することないと思うんですけど、やっぱチームメイトとチームに感謝したいと思います。はい。
Yeah, just he said he's really happy to be here and win the race as a mature team, and he'd like to thank to all the team and all the fans here in Suzuka. They're really happy.
Congratulations, guys. Well done.
So Yorikatsu Tsushiko, who races in the Japanese Formula Regional Championship, Yusuke Yamazaki, that we've seen in Ferraris and both the One Mate Championship, and then going back to the last running of this series in 2019, Ferrari driver in this championship as well. So good to hear from our race winners, and the drivers now being rounded up by the SRO Motorsports Group officials ready for the podiums. Confirmation of the results then, Yamazaki and Tsushiko. The winners from Jeffrey Ibrahim and Foster, Saiji Ara and Tomohiro Yamaguchi. Third from Hiroshi Hamaguchi and his co-driver Mineki Okura. Fifth to the car guy Ferrari of Kei Cozzolino and Takeshi Kimura. And then in sixth place, the third AM car home. So all three AM entries in the top six, extraordinarily enough. Ben Porter and Andrew McPherson in sixth place. Have a little look down the order to 11th overall, and the winning GT4 Mercedes comes of Hiroaki Hatano and co-driver Shinya Hosokawa. So a rather destructive race for some, but one that's given us plenty to talk about, and something that will keep the stewards busy for a couple of hours, I would have thought, with one or two more investigations to have a look at as well. The drivers making their way now to the podium. We'll be heading in that direction very shortly, ready for the celebrations at the end of this fourth round of the championship. So a bit of sweeping of the pit straight being done there by the marshals in readiness for the support race action that will be coming up later on in the afternoon here at the Suzuka Circuit, with the fans having been tempted out today. They stayed away in the rain yesterday, perhaps understandably, but it's been a very different day in many respects. Not only because it's been much hotter, not only because it's been dry, but also the way it shaped the racing. Let's have a look back and try and unpick it all. It began with Kei Cozzolino making a good start. Not a great getaway by the BMW alongside him in Saiji Ara. That gave Nick Foster the chance to challenge on the inside line as they headed down towards the first corner, looped their way through turn one, and the Ferrari already 2 or 3 lengths clear the other side of that right-hander, and that gave Cozzolino then the chance to try and build the lead, and he was up to about 2.6 seconds before we got the first safety car period. But Cozzolino doing everything absolutely right, knowing that he had to push and push and push. Further down the order, we had Reid Harker fending off the challenge of Tomonobu Fuji. The D station, Aston Martin making the run onto the tail of the Porsche as the cars climbed up towards Spoon Curve. And the Aston pulling out, having a look. Another car on an absolute mission and gaining ground by moving up past Kaita Sawa was the Porsche in the hands of Yuta Kamimura. That car would end the race, though, with damage and be partly a cause of an interruption, as in the new Ferrari, the replacement car effectively came a charging Kyoto Fujinami, and he worked his way around the outside as well. The pit window opened eventually, and the drivers elected in many cases to get the stops out of the way sooner rather than later. That shuffled the order and enabled the Aston Martin of D Station to move ahead of the BMW that had now been given over to the Japanese driver Tomohiro Yamaguchi. And then came the incidents as Kantabi Kosiri made his move on the inside of Abu Ibrahim. The cars touched, heading up towards the hairpin. It was enough to send both of them into a spin, and as Yoko Suzuki, who had just been lapped, braked, waiting to see which way the accident went, she got a massive hit in the back by the Porsche in the hands of Hiroaki Nagai, and that put that car off the road. And then we had a second accident a little while after, when here Satoshi Hoshino got onto the grass, overtaking Andrew McPherson and annihilated the GT4 Mercedes, took it with him, the car in the hands of Jun Tashiro that had won yesterday. That meant that the race finished behind the safety car. Massive frustration for many, but there was delight at Comet Racing. For the very first time in the championship's history, an AM class car wins outright. For the very first time in the championship's history, the Honda NSX GT3 Evo wins outright. And the first victory too for Comet Racing, as Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko celebrate victory here at Suzuka. Honda, Mercedes, and then BMW, the top three. Celebrations down in the pit lane for the Comet Racing team. So we're ready for the podium, and the drivers are being brought forward. So the first podium that we should have is the overall top three. So that means that for third place, we will have the BMW drivers from Plus with BMW Team Studi of Tomohiro Yamaguchi and Saiji Ara. For second place, it will be Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster. And then for the top step of the podium, we will have the Comet Racing AM, Suzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko. So the Dixel and Yogibo Trophy girls are ready, and so the drivers being called forward. Out come the BMW drivers then. Face masks still adorn the podiums over here, which means that under them you can't really see quite so clearly the expressions of Saiji Ara and Tomohiro Yamaguchi. But then out for second place come Nick Foster and co-driver Jeffrey Ibrahim, the Malaysian Prince and the Australian who has a British race licence. And then the race winners, the AMs for Honda, for Comet Racing, taking an outright win, Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko. Calling them AMs in a sense is a little unfair. They're in the AM Cup. That's more on relative experience more than the fact that they're businessman races that aren't very quick. As you've seen, they are very quick and error-free as well. So a great job done. Comet Racing wins at Suzuka. Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko. And so now, as the drivers are on the podium, the trophies for GT3 set to be presented by Masahiko Ida, the founder of Dixel. And then the trophies for the winning drivers. Safety car certainly helped to trigger that result, but you take the wins when you can, don't you? Then the trophies for second place drivers, so Jeffrey Ibrahim gets a fist bump. Nick Foster receives the same from Masahiko Ida, and then at the far end of the podium, the trophies will go to Saiji Ara and to Tomohiro Yamaguchi. The BMW drivers receive their trophies now. For many, there's going to be a very, very busy few days because the cars will be on track again at the end of the week, because Friday will be day one of the next round of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, and the next races within Fanatec Japan Cup. The championship is at Fuji next weekend, so the teams have a very busy few days preparing or rebuilding, in some cases, cars in order for the next races of the series. Right now, though, celebration time for Comet Racing, and from us as well. Thanks for your company here at Suzuka. From David Addison, it's goodbye. So let's go back to the podium then here on the stream, as champagne is streaming everywhere. The Comet Racing celebrations could be long, I think. Yep. Very happy drivers on the top step over the podium. In front of them, you see the Yogibo beanbags that the winners get. And from the GT3 podium, overall, then the classes will be brought forward. The next class is going to be Pro-Am. Then we have the AMs, and then we have GT4 Silver Am and GT4 Am. So on the Yogibo beanbags, the race winners can take it easy after a busy hour on track. Trophies with them. Congratulations all round. You can see the smiles even under the masks, can't you? So a job well done by the Comet Racing drivers from Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsushiko. So they make their way from the podium, and the podium is then dressed ready for the Pro-Am victors to step forward next. Pro-Am won by Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster. Second in the class were Saiji Ara and Tomohiro Yamaguchi. And then the third of the Pro-Ams, Keiko Tsullino and Takeshi Kimura. So there's the podium awaiting. And now the drivers will be called forward as Joanne Go from SRO Motorsports Group puts the champagne on the podium. The used bottles and corks taken away. More champagne for the second step. There's another bottle for the winner to come, I think, yet, but that's almost ready. Last bottle ready, and so that now means that the winning drivers can come forward. And it can be done in reverse order again. So third place will be Treble 7, the Car Guy Racing combination of Takeshi Kimura and Keiko Tsullino. They will step forward after a win yesterday and today a fifth place. But had we not had those two quick-fire safety car periods in the first stint for Tsullino, might have been a better result overall. For now, though, the third step beckons. Keiko Tsullino and Takeshi Kimura can still do the power of good in the Fanatec Japan Cup. Okay, with his sunnies on, looking a look rather sinister with the mask as well. That stands to greet then Saiji Ara and Tomohiro Yamaguchi, who step forward for second place. So third overall, second in Pro-Am. And then the class winners, second overall, but the victorious Pro-Ams, Nick Foster and Jeffrey Ibrahim. And Jeffrey Ibrahim very happy with that. It's a class win. There are points in class as well, and a class championship means an awful lot to him. And he's a genuine am, very, very limited experience before coming into the championship this year, as he's flanked there by Nick Foster. So the trophies presented once more by the founder of Dixel, Masahiko Ida, there to Takeshi Kimura to Keiko Solino. Then the second placed trophies to Tomohiro Yamaguchi and to Saiji Ara. Saiji with his wealth of experience now, like an increasing number have of racing in Europe, but Saiji Ara, who perhaps didn't internationally build on the success of the Le Mans win, but certainly has continued to be a busy driver back home, taking the trophy. And there, the winners, Jeff Ibrahim and Nick Foster. Very, very happy in the fist bumps all round, Nick and His Royal Highness Prince Abdul Rahman Ibrahim, Jeffrey to his friends, celebrates on the top step of the podium, and then drivers being told to lift the trophies ready for the photographers. And their celebrations set to get underway then at the end of this second race of the weekend, the fourth round of the championship, with Nick Foster and His Royal Highness Tunku Abdul Rahman Hassan, Jeffrey Ibn Sultan Ibrahim, the winning drivers. Champagne already being sprayed, as I think the Triple Eight drivers have legged it, perhaps understandably. Applause all round, and for the Car Guy Racing team, a weekend that underlines how these pit stop penalties work. A great win yesterday, but finding it really hard to overcome 15 seconds today. Had the safety cars all come in that second stint, it might have been a different story, because of course you make up the time you've lost, but it wasn't to be necessarily, because of the opportunity for more racing laps just wasn't there. Even though we did get safety cars after the pit window, we didn't get the laps in to balance that out. So, GT3 AM comes next. Another chance for the Comet Racing Honda drivers to go back onto the podium. Third in the AM contest, the winners of yesterday, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. Second in the class will be Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Mineki Okura, and the top step, as we've been saying, for Yamazaki and Tsujiko once more. So in the background, in the orange overalls, you can see the AMAC Motorsport drivers being ready to step forward. Andrew McPherson as the team patron, and Ben Porter step forward to the podium. If that car did have a problem at the end, it would account for why they lost places, but at least it's a podium result, but frustrating not to do a double win. Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Mineki Okura stand on the podium as well. Hamaguchi in his Lamborghini green boots. They're getting ready with the fizz already, as for the top step of the podium, as not only the outright winners, but of course class winners too, come then Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko. They clamber up onto the top of the podium, where once more the trophies from Masahiko Ida will be presented. First to the third place drivers, to Andrew McPherson first up, and the spectacles then. There's the trophy, there's the driver. Ben Porter receives his. At the other end of the podium then for second place. The trophy goes to Hiroki Hamaguchi, and then to Mineki Okura. Still indecision as to whether you shake hands or fist bump, but you get there in the end. Another trophy, and this time it's the winners that receive theirs. So for Yuzuki Yamazaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko, the race winners trophy at Suzuka presented, and a great result for Comet Racing. So drivers now get together for the photographed. Trophies in the air. And with that, GT3 drivers, at least for a week, are done. Champagne is sprayed, and the celebrations can commence here at Suzuka. But, of course, we still have the Gt4 podiums to come. 2 of those, one for the Silver AMs, one for the AMs. And the drivers for both are standing by, ready to walk up to the podium in a moment. Q. Gt3 AM drivers, first of all, leave the podium. And they will be made ready for the final group of drivers out of GT4, which remains competitive. It's good to see GT4 continuing to grow, and as this part of the world becomes a little more open and travel becomes a little more easy, then so we look forward to the grids becoming greater still. GT4 cars are a good way of getting involved in GT racing, whether it's as a subordinate class like this or as the standalone GT category, as we have, for example, in the French Championship, or indeed with the GT4 European Series, very popular in America too, as GT4 racing. So the drivers are just about ready at the back of the podium. And it's going to be first up in GT4 Silver AM for third place, Brian Lee, along with Hideto Yasuoka, who stepped forward. Not in the Japan Cup, because Brian Lee is from Chinese Taipei, so he's not eligible, therefore that car can't score points, those drivers can't score points in it. For second place onto the podium come then now Motoharu Sato and Katsuki Hironaka, and the class winners step forward from Team GMB, Hiroaki Hatano, whose team it is, and Shinya Hosokawa, his former single-seater racer co-driver, then as they step up to number 1 on the podium as race winners in GT4 here at Suzuka. Trophies then to be presented. The third placed trophies handed over first up as we go in this reverse order, and as the drivers reflect on a race that certainly in GT4 was affected by the third safety car, the way it rather broke up the order. It's still an opportunity to celebrate the success and the pace of the cars, and also how competitive GT4 has been all weekend. Some very good racing that we have had within the GT4 class, and more of the same for the remaining races. There is Fuji next, and then the championship goes after a break to Sugo in August. In September there is Okayama, and then the Indonesian Mandalika circuit completes the season for Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. Aisaku Ond, who is the CEO of Dixel, has presented one set of trophies and will do a second set in a moment, because the next group of drivers are being made ready. The champagne is ready first of all, though, and in time-honoured fashion, the champagne is sprayed here at the Suzuka Circuit. So well done to the Silver AM GT4 drivers. Applause all round from rivals and teammates alike. And there is one more podium to go, and that is for the pure AMs that we have in GT4. They will be brought forward in a moment. You have to bear in mind when you ponder this championship that although we have a European series, which is, you could argue, an equivalent, it's a little easier perhaps these days to get across Europe, whereas the sheer scale and size of Asia means that it's not putting a car in a transporter necessarily. There's an awful lot of flying and freighting involved in this, or shipping and freighting, so it's quite a complex operation, and the cars will have to live in Japan for a few months now, so that's why the calendar looks like this. And therefore, again, with the restrictions that still exist on travel in certain parts of the world. It's a huge feather in the cap of the teams and the championship for getting back up and running. Okay, we can't involve Chinese circuits just yet, but it's good that we are running in Malaysia, in Japan, and in Indonesia to round out the season. So to the podium come the GT4 AMs, where second, nearest to us, are Kazuhiro Sakai and Masaki Fuji, and on the top step of the podium, winning for the second time this weekend in class, Masayoshi Oyama and Masayuki Ueda. And once more, Aisaku Ond steps forward to present the trophies, the CEO of Dixel. So there are the trophies handed over to Kazuhiro Sakai and Masaki Fuji. And then for the winners, the trophies go now to Masayoshi Oyama and to Masayuki Ueda. So some good battles across the classes within GT4, some good racing throughout in this second race of the weekend, the fourth round of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, the second round two of Fanatec Japan Cup. Ueda and Oyama take 2 out of 2 in the GT4 AM contest. Their celebrations are about to get underway here. The champagne is ready to be sprayed in time-honoured fashion, and it's going to be fascinating to see how similar this weekend's results look to next, when a very different type of circuit in the foothills of Mount Fuji plays host to Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. And we look forward to 2 more excellent races in a week's time. So from a sunny Suzuka then, teams in some cases now look at their cars, look at the work they've got to do in the remaining few days before they get back on track for rounds 5 and 6 of the championship. And let's just remind ourselves of how things looked at the end of the race. Yamasaki and Tsujiko take honours ahead of Ibrahim and Foster, with Ara and Yamaguchi third. Hamaguchi and Okiura fourth, from Kimura and Cozzolino with 6th, McPherson and Porter. The winning GT4 car in 11th overall, Hatano and Hosokawa. And we, as I say, have just a week to go before they are back on track. Less than a week, really, given that the free practice sessions are going to be on the Friday. So excellent racing here from Suzuka. And while it's a shame that we did have so many incidents and a few damaged cars, we look forward to them being all rebuilt and good to go in a week's time for the next chapter in this year's story of Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. They're on track in a week. We'll see you then. For now, from Suzuka, from David Addison, it's goodbye.